Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Back at it here on a Monday afternoon. I didn't do a video all weekend because I figured since it was the unofficial kickoff to summer, most people, if not everybody, probably had plans to go somewhere, do something, and I didn't want to feel like I was hindering your progress on whatever you were doing. Even though I should have done one, because that way, if you watch the channel instead of watching it by yourself, you're watching it with your friends and or your family. But I didn't want to feel so selfish. But unless you're actually on a vacation from your job, or if you're a child that's out of school for the summer, for most of us, it's back to work tomorrow and back to the normal everyday grind. So I figured now would be a good time to come on here and do a video. If you jump on here live, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. I've already did my quarterback rankings for the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12. So I feel like it's time to do the quarterback rankings for the SEC. Now, each conference so far has had, a few transfer quarterbacks, but the SEC is full of transfer quarterbacks. As a matter of fact, in that conference, there's more teams that have transfer quarterbacks than teams that don't have transfer quarterbacks. But just like I did in the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, we'll rank them from who I feel like is the worst quarterback in the conference to who I think is the best quarterback in the conference. To me, number 16, actually, JD, I'll have to ask my wife to make sure, but you can go ahead and send me an email because I might be right. But I think it's Brandon Todd 1984 at gmail.com. I believe that's the correct email address, but my wife set it up years ago. I very rarely check it because you get one or two good emails and the rest of them are like getting mail in the mailbox is just hot piles of garbage. But if you tell me you're going to send me an email, I will look. I believe it's Brandon Todd 1984 at gmail.com. And if that's not correct, I will ask my wife to confirm, but I believe that is correct. Number 16 for me is Jackson Arnold, and he may end up not being the worst, but I think he's the worst just because, he's an Auburn quarterback now, transferring in from Oklahoma, but when I watched him with the Sooners, I wasn't impressed at all. So I can't do what a lot of people do and say, hey, I'm going to rank you based on your potential. Because to me, the word potential means right now you suck, and we think in the future you're not going to suck. Well, I'm not going to say you're not going to suck until you show me you're not going to suck. And so far, everything about Jackson Arnold has sucked. So I'll put him at number 16. And I guess, JD, you mean the double as in yesterday in the world of racing with the Indy 500 and the Coke 600. And if that's what you're talking about, I agree. And honestly, I wish it wasn't even a thing to begin with. But, since so many drivers have tried it and it very rarely gets done, people want to keep trying it to be the next person to be able to successfully do it. And it's really the only day that you can do it because most of the time it's either IndyCar on a Saturday and then the Cup Series on a Sunday, or they'll both run in the afternoon time on a Sunday. So there's just no way to do it. This is one of the few times you had the IndyCar race, early afternoon, and then the Cup race late that evening. So there's a time in between to do it. Plus, it's the biggest race of the year for the IndyCar series, and one of the biggest races of the year for the Cup Series. I still say it's not as big as Daytona, but it's still a pretty good sized race as far as the hype around it. So I think it's going to continue to try to be done, even though I wish people wouldn't do it. I wish IndyCar wouldn't allow the Cup drivers to do it. I know they want to because IndyCar, hey there, E, glad to have you here. IndyCar is going to let Cup drivers do it because of the fact that IndyCar racing is just not very popular, never has been. Even when the Cup Series was down as far as TV ratings 10, 15 years ago, it still blew the IndyCar Series out of the water. IndyCar racing has just never been that popular. So, in IndyCar's mind, the only way they're going to grow the sport is to let the more popular racing series have one of their drivers come to IndyCar, because then if you're not an IndyCar fan, you'll watch because your driver's out there. But in the world of IndyCar, to me, it's not a good thing because, what if one of those Cup Series drivers shows up and has little or no experience in IndyCar and goes out there and wins? It makes IndyCar look even worse. To me, IndyCar shouldn't do it unless you've either driven full time in IndyCar before, or you have to race at least 2 to 3 races that year, not just come and be one and done. That's just my opinion. And JD, as far as the best quarterbacks in the ACC and the SEC, I did say the best quarterback in the ACC was Cade Klubnik, but keep watching this video and you'll find out where I have South Carolina's quarterback in the SEC. But number 16 is Jackson Arnold. Number 15 for me is Beau Pribula, who is another transfer. He transferred from Penn State. He's going to Missouri. He transferred because he's been backing up Drew Allar, and everybody thought last year Drew Allar was going to leave Penn State a year early, and then he decided he was coming back for his last year, and Beau Pribula decided, well, if I've been backing up the last 3 years, I'm going to back up again. I want to start for 1 year, so he leaves and goes to Missouri. JD says he's over the double because he wants to see the driver complete all the miles and be competitive in both races, and that doesn't seem possible of happening. It's possible, but the only way, JD, it's possible is if the IndyCar Series race starts at about 12:15 Eastern time, which is supposed to be the scheduled start, but of course, sometimes there's delays for whatever reason, or they start, then there's a delay in the race. But if the IndyCar race for the Indy 500 starts at 12:15 Eastern time and starts on time and doesn't have no bad wrecks or no delays for weather, it can be done by 3:30. And if it's done by 3:30, you can hop on a plane and you can be in Charlotte by 5:30. But it seems like every year now, IndyCar either has just a butt ton of cautions to where the race takes a really long time, or they have delays in the start time for weather, or delays sometime during the race because of weather. And then there's been some years where they've talked about moving the Cup race to 600 up an hour or two because of weather. So when you have anything like that, it's not possible. But if everything goes according to plan, it's possible. But you just never know how the weather is going to do. So there's just no way to say that it can happen every year. Hey there, WAZ, glad to have you here. And hey there, Joaquin, glad to have you here. And JD, if you emailed it to that email address and I didn't get it, then next time I'm on here live, let me know and I will find out what my actual email address is, but I think that's the right email address. And if you ever decide to get on Facebook, we can easily chit chat on Facebook as well. I'd love to hear from you, JD. But Beau Pribula, it's hard to say. I can't rank him higher than that because he's always been Drew Allar's backup, so we really don't know how good the guy can be. He may end up being the best quarterback in the conference. But when you spent your whole career being a backup, you're just going by what you think might happen. And I don't want to do that. Number 14, another transfer quarterback. I think he's been in college football now for about 20 years. This will be his fourth school, if memory serves. I believe this is, on a serious note, his 7th year of college football. That's Zach Calzada, who is now the quarterback at Kentucky. I believe Zach started out in 2019 at Texas A&M and played there 19, 20, and 21. Then he transferred to Auburn in 22, and then he spent 23 and 24 at Incarnate Word. So I believe this will be the 7th year of college football for Zach Calzada. And the offense that Mark Stoops runs at Kentucky, their quarterbacks are never going to put up great numbers because he doesn't ask his quarterbacks to do a whole lot. But you just don't want to see the guy make a lot of mistakes. But it's funny because Zach Calzada is actually from the state of Georgia, and their last quarterback, Brock Vandagriff, was from the state of Georgia. Now, the Brock Vandagriff experience didn't work at all. As a matter of fact, Brock Vandagriff got so embarrassed about how he played and getting benched by Kentucky that he retired from football. Now, and JD, if you did, I will see it as soon as I get done with this video. And if you did, send me a friend request. I'll see it, and I will definitely accept it. Definitely accept it. But, Zach Calzada, had a couple of good games at Texas A&M, but nothing, nothing major, nothing great. But hopefully it won't be as bad as Brock Vandagriff. Zach Calzada can throw. He's just, shows some signs of inconsistency. But now Brock Vandagriff couldn't throw the ball 10 yards. He definitely had a noodle arm. I mean, a definite noodle arm. He couldn't throw the ball 10 yards, and that was on a good day. But, you would have thought that he would have transferred to a Division II or Division III school and at least play. But I guess he thought, I've done so bad at Kentucky, nobody's going to want me, and it's a definite downgrade to go from Kentucky to Wofford. I'm just naming off small schools. But you would have thought he would have transferred somewhere instead of just saying, hey, I'm done altogether. But he did definitely retire because of the way he played with Kentucky. Number 13 is the first quarterback on this list that's not a transfer. And this is the quarterback that when I've talked about this team, I've said I don't think they're going to be in for a very good season because I don't think their quarterback is very good. And JD, I'm glad to hear that you're waiting to hear my rankings of SEC quarterbacks because I'm just now at 13, but I will definitely go all the way to number 1. So I'm glad to know you're going to stick around and go back and watch my rankings on the ACC quarterbacks, the Big Ten quarterbacks, and the Big 12 quarterbacks. And I had said a few weeks back, JD, that I was going to do one on all 4 of the power conferences, and I may end up doing some on the Group of 5 conferences. I'm not sure, but I know for sure I wanted to do one on all 4 of the Power 4 conferences, and the SEC is the last one. But Ty Simpson is number 13. That's why I say Bama's not in for a very good season because unless this coach they've got now works magic, I have not seen anything out of Ty Simpson. Worth a darn. But now, also, by that same token, do I think Ty Simpson's good? No, I don't. But when you look at Bama's other quarterback options, I don't think they're very good either. So Ty Simpson may be the best option of the ones they have, but he's not any good. So if Alabama does anything better than 8-4, I'll be surprised. I don't care how good that receiver is. Yeah, he's good, but when the quarterbacks can't throw the ball to you, it does no good. And number 12, another transfer quarterback, started out at Baylor. I believe this is going to be year number 2 at Mississippi State for Blake Shapen. He's actually not a bad quarterback, but, Mississippi State has been so bad that no matter how good he does, nobody's going to talk about it because, they're a 4-5 win football team. But I expect him to improve from last year, and his numbers weren't terrible last year. Number 11, Marcel Reed of Texas A&M. Now, Marcel's been there for a while, but the last couple of years they've been going back and forth on starting quarterbacks, who was going to start, where they finally decided last year to make Marcel Reed their quarterback. So I'm kind of excited to see what he can do because I think he's actually a pretty good quarterback. Number 10, a guy that I put at number 10 because I'm assuming he's going to be their starting quarterback. I don't think Tennessee goes out and pays him what they pay him to bring him in as a backup. So I put him at 10, assuming he's going to be Tennessee's starting quarterback, even though, they have not came out and officially said he would be, which is, what most teams do, because if you do say that Joey Aguilar is your starting quarterback, then more than likely one of the other two guys that are battling for the job is probably going to get mad and go ahead and transfer. Or if you come out and say that, Aguilar is not going to be your quarterback, then he's going to come out and say he's transferring. But I just don't think you go out and get Joey Aguilar if you're Tennessee and pay him what you're paying him to come in as your backup. So number 10 for me, assuming he's their starting quarterback, is Joey Aguilar for Tennessee. Number 9 for me is Georgia quarterback Gunnar Stockton. I can't put him any higher because, for one, I think all the quarterbacks higher than him are better than him. And for two, to me so far, Gunnar Stockton's been just like Arch Manning. All I've seen him do consistently is run the ball. Now, yes, I've seen him throw the ball some, but there's a difference in throwing the ball 4 to 5 times and throwing the ball 45 times. And I just don't know if Gunnar Stockton can, consistently throw 45 times a game because he hasn't been asked to do that. But when he has thrown the ball, he's had some throws that look incredible and some throws that make you say, what in the world is he doing? So it's hard to say, but I'll say Gunnar Stockton is number 9. You trust Heupel in coaching quarterbacks. I do too, and I think Heupel is fine. The problem with Tennessee, JD, has been their offensive line has been very, very good in run blocking, but they've been terrible in pass blocking for whatever reason. And that's why last year, almost their entire offense was Dylan Sampson, because when they tried to throw the ball, they just couldn't throw. Some of that might have been Nico's inconsistency because he was inconsistent, but some of that was also just their offensive line cannot pass block. And, a couple years ago, Tennessee had 5-star receivers all over the field, and now they don't. So I think Joey Aguilar is an improvement over Nico because Nico, to me, was just inconsistent. But I also know Tennessee doesn't have the receiver weapons they had a couple years ago. Another reason why last year their offense was almost exclusively Dylan Sampson was because they don't have any consistent receivers to throw the ball to. So number 9 for me is Gunnar Stockton. Plus, I also know that, Mike Bobo's an old school quarterback calling plays, and I just don't think he's going to ask Gunnar Stockton to run the ball 20 times a game. And if Gunnar Stockton doesn't run the ball 20 times a game, can he throw 45 times a game? Don't know. Maybe he can, but I haven't seen it. And as I said a while ago with Jackson Arnold, I'm ranking you based on what I've seen, not on what I might see, because it might not happen. Number 8 for me is Austin Simmons at Ole Miss. First of all, when this kid's played, he's been really, really good. And second of all, everywhere Lane Kiffin's ever coached, he's always made his quarterbacks be phenomenal. So why should I expect this year to not be phenomenal? It's an offense. It's Lane Kiffin. Austin Simmons is going to put up fantastic numbers. Number 7 for me is a guy that I could say almost verbatim, word for word, what I just said for Gunnar Stockton. That's Arch Manning at Texas. I'm not putting him higher. I don't care that his last name is Manning. Eli's last name was Manning, and he wasn't a great quarterback. Arch Manning will play 10 plays a game, and 9 of them he runs the ball, and 1 of them he hands the ball off. I have not seen Arch Manning consistently throw the ball 40 times a game. I want to see it before I rank him higher than that. And just because his name is Manning means nothing to me. You've got to go out there and show me how good you are, not tell me your last name. Your last name means diddly squat to me. So, to me, number 7 is Arch Manning. And you can trust Lane Kiffin, JD, and that's why I have Austin Simmons at 8, because he doesn't have much experience. But when he has played, he's played good. But Lane Kiffin at Tennessee, and even though his USC numbers weren't good, his quarterbacks were good. Lane Kiffin coaching offense at Alabama. Lane Kiffin at Florida Atlantic. Everywhere Lane Kiffin's coached, his quarterbacks have been good. So I know, even if Austin Simmons is not as good talent-wise as their last quarterback was when they had Jackson Dart, I know that he's playing for Ole Miss. He'll put up good numbers. Number 6 for me is Taylen Green. Of course, he's Arkansas's quarterback that transferred from Boise State, but he was there last year and put up decent numbers. When last year started, Arkansas was supposed to only be a 3 or 4 win team. I think they were picked to win 4 games last year, and they went well beyond that. And a lot of that was because of Taylen Green. I expect him make improvement this year, another year under Petrino. So Taylen Green to me is number 6, and motivated, dedicated. Glad to have you here. Number 5 for me is another transfer quarterback. That's John Mateer. And he transferred, of course, from Washington State going to Oklahoma. And he's another guy that came out of high school and, was a 5-star quarterback and everybody wanted him. But a lot of times guys end up being as good as what they're recruited as, and some guys are not as good as what they're recruited as. But John Mateer is supposed to be really good, and he put up good numbers on the West Coast, which is why Oklahoma let Jackson Arnold walk to bring him in, because if John Mateer plays anywhere close to as good as he was on the West Coast, he could walk circles around Jackson Arnold. But if he does come in and does struggle, then Oklahoma is in trouble. But they're picked to have a very good year, and most of that's because of John Mateer. And JD, it's hard to say you're wrong, because so far Brent Venables has not had very good success as a head coach. And, a lot of times these coordinators on offense and defense, they're phenomenal as coordinators. But then when they become a head coach, the success is, not near what it was. But, if you're Brent Venables and you get the option and the chance to take the job, you're crazy to say no, because most coordinators, not all, but most coordinators want to eventually one day be a head coach. And, Brent Venables coached defense for a long time and was very successful for a long time, and always said he wanted to be a head coach one day. Well, you're not going to get many chances to coach a team that has a better history than Oklahoma. So, yeah, he might have been better off starting out at a low level and moving up, but at the same time, it's Oklahoma. If they come calling with what they've done in their program history, you'd be an idiot to say, no, I don't think I want it. But, Brent Venables has also been so successful as a coordinator that if this Oklahoma job doesn't work out, there's not a doubt in my mind that as soon as he gets let go, the next day, if not the same day, he'll be offered a defensive coordinator job somewhere. But so far, he has not done much as a head coach. But it's also hard for these, programs, because, when you go out and you're hiring a head coach, if there's a coordinator somewhere, offense or defense, that's been successful, and you don't give them the opportunity, then fans of that program start saying, why'd you skip this guy? Look what he's done. But you've got to offer the job to somebody. So it's either offer it to a head coach that's already been fired by 3 or 4 programs before, or it's offer it to a high school coach, or it's offer it to a coordinator. And high school coaches sometimes come to college and they're not any good. And coordinators sometimes become head coaches and they're not any good. So it's kind of hit or miss. You're an idiot if you don't give these guys chances to be a head coach when they've been successful as a coordinator. But then, if there's 10 that want to be coaches, maybe 5 work out and 5 don't. So if you get one of the 5 that does work out, you're a genius. If you get one of the 5 that don't work out, then you're an idiot. Hey there, Austin. Glad to have you here. And I will say, JD, that so far I've not been impressed with Brent Venables as a head coach, but I think he's better than Will Muschamp. Not much, but a little bit. Will Muschamp was lucky to get to 6 wins, and that was on a good year. Number 4 for me is LaNorris Sellers of South Carolina. JD said earlier that he thought he was the best quarterback in the conference. I don't think he's the best, but number 4 is still really good, especially when it's South Carolina, who doesn't have a long history of being a great team or having great quarterbacks. But I do think LaNorris Sellers is very, very good. I'm doing fantastic, Austin. Hope you are as well. I'd like to see LaNorris improve some in the passing game. If you're a Gamecock fan, that's what you want, because there's no doubt you could tell last year by his 3rd game starting that the team believes in him, the coaches believe in him, the fans believe in him, and he's a great leader. But there was a couple games last year that he barely had 100 yards passing because he just couldn't throw. If he could be more consistent throwing the ball, he could be the best quarterback in the conference. But you can't have 100-yard passing games this day and time in college football and win. You just can't do it. So he needs to be a little more consistent throwing the ball, but every other intangible he's got. Number 3 for me is Diego Pavia. I have not watched it yet, Austin. I watched NXT's premium live event last night, but I will definitely watch it. But I knew that NXT was going to be better than AEW, so I thought, you know what? If I can't watch but one, and I know NXT is going to be better, I'll watch it. And there's not a doubt in my mind before I watch AEW, the NXT's premium live event was better than anything AEW did last night, but I will get around to it. Diego Pavia, a lot of folks will be surprised that he's that high because it's Vanderbilt, but he can't help the fact that Vanderbilt sucks. Vanderbilt's always sucked. Vanderbilt always will suck. But Diego Pavia definitely will do his job. He's continued doing his job, and he will continue to do his job. And I agree with you, JD, but unfortunately, the day and time we live in, he may end up playing 10 more years. And JD, if you have followed this channel since I started, when I first started this channel back in 2021, I have said that paying players was the worst thing that could ever happen to college football. And almost everybody that watched the channel told me I was crazy and they should get paid. And I said, nope, it's a terrible thing. And within 5 years, people are going to realize how dumb it was. And it took maybe 2. And now everybody says, oh, this is terrible. Look what's happened. And my thought process from the get-go is, why did you expect it to be anything else than what it's turned out to be? Which is why I thought from the get-go it was a terrible idea. Number 2 for me is DJ Lagway at Florida. And number 1 is the guy that might win the Heisman Trophy. Not saying that he will, but it won't surprise me if he does. And that's Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. And that's the reason why it's a bad idea, JD, because there's not rules on it. Which is why I said from the get-go, you don't play them because there's not rules on it. Because how can you tell somebody you're going to pay them and not have any parameters around it and not have any rules around it and that be a good idea? It's not. It's stupid. Before you ever started paying them, you should have had contracts right away. Because in the real world, in everyday life, an everyday job, whatever your job is, people whatever their job is, if they go to their job and they work beside somebody that does the same thing they do, that makes more than they do, 99% of the workforce is going to say, I'm not happy. So-and-so over there does the same thing I do, and he's making $3 an hour more than I'm making. So if they think that, and most of us think that in our everyday jobs, why do you think football players wouldn't think that? So you start paying them, and then they find out this quarterback makes more than them, then what are they going to say? Well, he's a quarterback. He makes that. I should make that. So it was a bad idea from the get-go because there's no rules around it. You can't tell somebody you're going to pay them and not have a rule around it and it not backfire on you. It's dumb. The whole NIL thing from the get-go, when it started, just like it says in the wording, in the acronym, NIL, that's name, image, likeness. You were supposed to only get paid for your name, which means if your name's on a jersey, you get paid for that. It means if you want to go to an autograph signing somewhere and people pay for your autograph, you get money. If somebody goes to a jersey store and gets a jersey made in your name, gets your name put on it, you get paid for it. You're supposed to get paid for your name and your image on like a video game or a t-shirt, whatever, and your likeness. You're not supposed to make $6 million to play quarterback. You're supposed to get paid for your name and your image, and that's it. That's the only thing you're supposed to get. But I can recall years and years and years and years and years ago, whatever year it was, when A.J. Green played for Georgia, and A.J. Green got in trouble for being an idiot and being stupid and going somewhere for an autograph signing and trying to charge people for his autograph and pictures. And he got in trouble for it, and he should have because he broke the rules. And, of course, all the Georgia fans are saying, man, he should get paid for that. That's his name. And I was like, yeah, but he's breaking the rules. When you break the rules, you should get in trouble. You broke the rules. And people back then were saying, man, these guys got to get paid for that. And I said, no, they shouldn't. That's a bad idea. And that was 20 or close to 20 years ago. And to this day, I still say it's a terrible idea. There's a big difference in getting paid for your name, image, and likeness and getting paid to play. They're nowhere near the same thing. If they put in rules and put in parameters and only paid you for your name and your image, great, fantastic. But that's not the same thing as getting paid to play. But when you tell people you're going to pay them and don't put in rules and don't put in contracts, this is what's going to happen, which is why I've said from the get-go, bad idea. You can't tell people you're going to pay them and not put in some kind of parameters. And if you don't, this is what is going to happen. And I've always said they shouldn't get paid because, for one, I'm one of the few people, JD, this day and time that have what they call common sense, which I call it uncommon sense because most people don't have it. So if there's more that don't have it than do have it, it's not common sense, it's uncommon sense. But I've also never been a money hungry person, never have been. To me, I've always felt like money is the worst thing in the world. That's just my opinion. But I know if I was a high school kid and I was getting a chance to go play college football at some huge Division I school somewhere, even before the players got paid, they all got a free scholarship, which already you're pretty much getting paid because scholarships, depending on where you go and what you're going to college for, can be, upwards of $500,000. So that already you're getting paid for your scholarship. While you're there, you've got a free room. They put you in a room. They pay for your tuition. Your room is paid. So you got free TV. For those that play video games, you got free video games. You got a free cell phone. Most schools, under the table back in the day, were giving you cars. If you tell me you're going to give me a free house, free food, a free car, and a free phone, I don't need any money. What's the money for? And I know if I was 18 years old and you gave me a free car, a free phone, free house, and free food, and you still pay me money, all my money is going to be blowed on stuff that's not important. So I would have been better off not getting that money because I'm not going to put it in no savings account. I'm going to blow it on things I don't need because I'm 18 years old and I'm an idiot. Same thing these kids are doing. You're giving them free homes, free food, free phones, free cars, and then you're giving them $5 million. What are they going to do with it? They're going to blow it. Why are you paying them? They're not saving this money. They might tell you they're going to, but they're not. Pay them for name, image, and likeness, and not pay them to play football. Plus, I've also said they shouldn't get paid because according to stats, this is not something I've made up, it's documented, only 5% of college football players make it in the NFL, which means 95% of college football players don't make it to the NFL. So why am I going to pay you $4, $5, $6 million to play something that you're not good enough to play at a professional level? So basically, I'm paying you $5 million as an amateur because you're not good enough to play in the NFL. I think that's dumb. If you're not good enough to play in the NFL, you shouldn't get paid $5 million in college. That's my opinion. That's just looking at it logically. And to me, if you're not good enough to play in the NFL, then you're not $5, $6 million good enough to get paid in college. I don't care how good you are in college, 95% of them will never make it in the NFL. So they shouldn't get paid that kind of money to be an amateur athlete. Just shouldn't happen. That's my opinion. JD says also part of the problem is education has become undervalued. Getting an education used to be the reason to go to college. It used to be back in the day, but the problem is, and JD, believe it or not, I can attest to this because growing up and spending most of my childhood in the state of Georgia, living there most of my life, I can tell you from personal experience, I've never liked Georgia. Can't stand them. I've got two teams, and that's Clemson, anybody that plays Georgia. That's the way I've always been, the way I always will be. But I can tell you from living here the majority of my life, that Georgia fans don't give a darn about education. They say they do, and there's 4 or 5% that do, but the majority of them, they don't care if their football players go out and commit homicide as long as they win on Saturdays. And that's just the truth. And that's not a Georgia thing. That's the way most fan bases are. But the reason why I use Georgia as an example is because I spent most of my childhood and adult life in the state. So the team closest to me and the fan base closest to me most of my life was Georgia. And that's how they are. And you look now, and they've had speeding tickets year after year after year, as you just brought up, JD. Year after year after year, they get speeding tickets. And you still to this day hear Georgia fans say, "Oh, man, it's okay. They're young and dumb. It's not Kirby's fault. They're young and dumb." They're still defending what's going on. Why? Because they're winning. All of a sudden, if Georgia falls off a cliff and they go 6-6, which is not going to happen, just saying if it does, they go 6-6 this year and they go 5-7 next year, then by the end of next year, their fans are going to be saying, "Oh, Kirby got to go. Look at all these speeding tickets," because he's not winning anymore. But as long as you're winning, they don't care what you do. And it's funny to me that you've got 140 Division 1A football programs, and the only one that has a problem with getting speeding tickets is Georgia. But yet their fans will try to make you believe, "Oh, it's a whole football thing. It's everybody." No, it's not. It's a Georgia thing. Why? Because their fans don't care. So their coaching staff don't care. If their fans would put their foot down and say, "You know what? I am no longer going to support this team as long as this crap goes on," then the coaches would start caring. But the coaches know as long as they win, the fans don't care. So what happens then? The coaches don't care. But there's no way you're going to make me believe that Georgia has this happen over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it does not happen in any other program except Georgia. And their fans continue to stick up for them. Somebody's been killed because of it. And their fans continue to stick up for them. And then you got fans saying, "Oh, well, they're young and they're dumb." Yeah, I was a teenager at one time too. But you know what? I didn't get behind no wheel and drive 150 miles an hour. I just didn't do it. And if these Georgia players, if they knew they were going to get punished for it, they wouldn't do it. But they know that nothing's going to happen. If somebody gets killed and still changes nothing, then ain't a doggone thing going to change anything until they stop winning. But Kirby Smart is such a good coach, they're going to keep winning. But if they could have a 6-6 year, 5-7 year, you'd see changes. But I've been a Clemson fan for almost 30 years, and ever since Dabo's been their head coach, as soon as there's an issue, he puts a stop to it. Because Dabo says, "I don't care how good a player you are, I want you to be a better man than you are a player. And if you do something you shouldn't do, you're not going to play." They had a starting linebacker a few years back. I forget what year it was. We'll say, I don't know, 07, 08, somewhere along in there. Right before Dabo came, he was there. Then he was on the roster when Dabo came. And he was a starting linebacker on the team. And he was really good. But he started a fight in practice and got into a fight at practice with his own teammate. And you know what? On Saturday, the kid didn't play. Dabo said, "I don't care how good you are. If you want to fight, you're not going to play." He set him. He benched him. He didn't play. And after that happened, the rest of his career at Clemson, that kid never got in trouble anymore. We had Sammy Watkins. Everybody knows that name. Great player. Come to Clemson. Got pulled over one time. Had drugs in his car. You know what happened? He got a 2-game suspension. And he was a freshman, I believe. The rest of his Clemson career, never got in trouble again. You know why? Because Dabo said, "That's not happening here." Had another receiver, Martavis Bryant, who was a local kid. He played high school ball just up the road from Clemson. He got in trouble numerous times in high school for smoking weed. Happened numerous times, over and over again. When he went to Clemson, everybody said, that kid's never going to play. He can't put weed down long enough. Come to Clemson, his whole Clemson career, never not one time got in trouble for weed. Why? He knew Dabo Swinney wouldn't put up with it. The moment he leaves Clemson and goes to the NFL and goes to the Steelers, guess what happens? He gets caught with it again. A couple years later, he was out of the league. Players know what they can and can't get by with. And at Georgia, it doesn't matter what you do. As long as that team wins, you're good to go. And the players know that. And that's why if you have a player coming out of high school that doesn't want to grow up and wants to go to college and keep making dumb mistakes, they'll go to Georgia because they know they can get by with it. And it's not a Kirby Smart thing. I know Kirby's their coach now, but it was the same way when Mark Richt was there. It was the same way when Jim Donnan was there. It was the same way when Ray Goff was there. Why? Because their fans don't care as long as you win. You can turn on Sports Talk Radio, JD, and if they're talking about their local team, whether it's college or NFL, and you'll hear most of the people on that station, whether it's, one of the hosts on the station or if it's one of the fans, they'll say, I just want to win. I don't care what we do as long as we win. But then when something bad happens, they say, I can't believe that happened. Why are you shocked by it? All you want to do is win. You're winning. So players know what they can and can't get by with. And if they want to get by with something, they'll go to a program where they're going to be able to get by with it. But JD, thanks for the comments. I enjoyed talking to the people. And Raw Dog, you're right. Winning matters as long as you do it right. I have my teams that I pull for in every sport, and no matter how good they are or how bad they are, I'll never waver. They've always been my teams in each sport, and always will be my teams, and nothing changes that. People can laugh at me, make fun of me. I don't care. Because to me, yes, I love sports, but I don't let sports control my life. If my teams win, great. If my teams lose, great. I still don't care. Life goes on. The sun comes up the next day. I've still got my beautiful wife, my 3 wonderful kids. I don't care if my team wins or lose. My attitude don't change because my team got beat. I don't care. It's a game to me. But I'll always have my teams in every sport. And I want my teams to win. But if you give me the option of having a clean program or winning, give me a clean program. Because I want to win, but I want to win the right way so that later on, can't nobody say, well, your team won, but this. Your team won, but that. If your team does nothing wrong, they can't say that you won. So, yeah, I want to win, but if you give me the option of winning or having a clean program, I'll take 8-4 in football every year as long as I've got a clean program. But everybody's different. Most people don't care if you commit murder as long as you win. I'm not that way. I want to be clean. If you can't win clean, don't win. That's just the way I feel about it. Austin, I'll be reffing again unless something changes this Sunday. I reffed this past Saturday, and I've got a show this upcoming Sunday. So unless something changes, I'm not reffing this Saturday, but I'll be reffing Sunday. And Jamie, that's the way, thank you for the comments. That's the way I've always been. If my wife was here, she could tell you she was shocked when her and I first got together and got married, because she said she didn't really watch sports growing up, but most of the folks that she knew that did, they always, when their team was on, it was hollering, jumping up and down, and screaming and shouting. And then if their team lost, they was. And I'm not like that. You know, I never have been like that. There's been many a times if I'm watching, no matter who it is, if it's my Clemson, my Dolphins on Sunday, if it's my Kyle Busch on Sunday, if it's my Pelicans in basketball season, whoever it is, a lot of times if she's home, when the game goes off, she'll say, did Clemson win? Did the Dolphins win? Because I don't jump up and down. I don't scream. I don't shout. I don't do any of that. If I'm watching the game, when the game ends, I stand up, take the remote control, and either find something else on or turn TV off. And I'm done with it automatically. I'm just not going to let my life and my mood be decided over a football game. I'm going to get upset over things I can't control, but I can't control what's happening on a TV screen. So I am not going to get myself in a tizzy and get my blood pressure up and get mad over a game. It's just not going to happen. For those that do, great, but not me. Never have. Don't believe in that. I've seen too many folks in my life that get upset and their face gets all red and their heart starts pumping because they're so upset because their team got beat. Who cares? You're not making no money off that team playing. Your life's going to go on. The sun's going to come up. Suck it up and move on. They're going to play again. So thanks for the kind words, JD. That's what I believe. Control what you can control. And I can't control what my team does. Do I want to win? Absolutely. But do I care if they don't win? No. I'm still going to wear my Clemson merchandise, not just in football. I'm going to wear it in basketball. I wear it in baseball. I wear it in golf. I wear it in soccer. I wear my Clemson gear all year long because I'm not a Clemson football fan. I'm a Clemson fan. And if they don't win a game in football, don't win a game in baseball, don't win a game in basketball, don't win a tournament in golf, you know what I'm going to do? Next chance I get, I'm going to Clemson and I'm buying me a new Clemson shirt. That's just how I am. Always have been. I don't pull for Clemson because they win. I pull for Clemson because I'm a Clemson fan. The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar. You are exactly right. And Jamie, you're a Georgia fan. I'm glad to have you here. I like to have people from every sport, from every team here on the channel. And that's why I don't dedicate this channel to a certain sport or a certain team. And Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, but your name looks familiar. I believe I know you personally. If not, I apologize, Jamie, but your name looks and sounds, when I say it, awfully familiar. I believe I know you. But anyway, I don't dedicate this channel to one certain team or one certain sport because there's a lot of YouTube channels. As a matter of fact, most YouTube channels, I thought so, Jamie. I thought I recognized your name. Most YouTube channels, the people on the channel or the person on the channel will dedicate their channel to a certain sport or to a certain team. So I've always felt like whatever your sport is, whoever your team is, if you just want to hear about that sport or that team, there are many channels that you can go to watch just that sport or just that team. But here, I've got this channel for college baseball, Major League Baseball, college football, the NFL, college basketball, the NBA, NASCAR racing, wrestling, and then I do top 10 countdowns where I talk about anything. It could be a countdown about football, baseball, movies. I believe last week's countdown was on cars. I believe I did some on vacation spots, restaurants, holidays. So it's a variety channel. That way it's something for everybody, not just people that like one team or one sport. I'm a Clemson fan, but I've got on here many a times and did videos where Clemson never even got mentioned at all in the video. And I've did videos where I've got on here and talked bad about Clemson. I'm a Clemson fan, but I am not a Clemson homer. But this is not a Clemson channel. And that's why it's called Ref Brandon and the Todd family, because it's about every team and every sport, not just my teams and not just one certain sport. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I wrote a book on surviving falling down a staircase. It's a step-by-step guide. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.